1106. Putting the spotlight on local businesses in the capital city. This is 402 Business Insider with Travis Filing and Gary Tharnish on 1499.3 KLIN.
Well, good morning or good afternoon, good evening, or what are you doing up in the middle of the night if you're listening to the podcast? But for those of you listening live, it's Saturday, beautiful day, Easter weekend, and you're listening to the 402 Business Insider, sponsored by the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and Sartor Heyman Jewelry. I'm Gary Tharnish. Travis is out today. You know, who knows where he is, probably just having fun somewhere. Filling in for him is Jim Ballard. Jim is the owner of James Arthur Vineyards, one of our sponsors. Jim, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here
and
today.
I'm even better now that Shannon, who you're going to introduce, I'm here shortly, brought jelly beans.
I know.
We are good.
Yeah.
We are golden.
It shows my age when I'm like, oh, I'll just bring sweet snacks.
Really, just this morning, I'm like, I need to cut out treats. I'm like, it's Easter weekend. Am I crazy or a nut or what's going on? Well, Shannon is Travis's better half, for those of you that don't know.
You.
She's quite an amazing woman. Shannon worked for me years ago when I had the flower shop. Gosh, 90s, I think. Probably. When were you in high school?
It was in the 90s.
That's a terrible question to ask a woman, isn't it?
That's okay. It was in the 90s. It was the best job ever.
I love it. Well, thank you. That's awesome. I loved having you.
Yeah.
It was great. I knew you would soar to great heights when you were working for me. That was pretty obvious. So your company's Transformation Marketing, which is where I'm going to talk a little bit about today. So give us your 35,000 foot view of how did you get there to your own company, Transformation Marketing?
Travis.
Okay.
That is the short, succinct word for that. I never in a million years would have thought to own my own company. Sometimes people, as you say, see things in you that you don't see in yourself, and you are grateful looking back at that borrowed confidence and realization. So Travis has always been in sales, and when he moved here from Colorado, he kind of worked his way into radio sales. And then I was in banking, loved banking, thought I would do it for my whole entire life. And we had two kiddos close together. He needed help doing all the things that salespeople don't like to do, the details, the paperwork, all of that stuff. And I thought, well, I have that skill set and patience. I'll do that. So it just kind of evolved from there. And the radio station said, well, we'll teach you. I took RIB courses, and they took me under their wings. And so then we got in the marketing, and I'm like, you know what? I'm talking to people, and they need websites, they need all this other stuff. And so it just grew and evolved, and I've been very thankful for that.
Well, I'm not at all surprised that you're an entrepreneur. I mean, I saw it, I think, when you were younger, like at the flower shop, it's like, wedding day is like disaster central, and it's like trying to keep everything done. And you were always like quietly in the background, but just kind of getting everybody where they needed to be. Aww. And you're not afraid to surround yourself with people as successful or more successful than you. That says a lot for a leader, I think.
Oh, well, thank you. I do. I think maybe you hit on something as unconsciously I did that. Mm-hmm. Sure. And now consciously I really try and do that, because we really don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So I will say to you, I never am. And I love to learn from people, and I think that makes us better.
Comes very naturally to me, too. How about you, Jim?
Well, most days. But I love the story, and I love talking to business owners, and especially, your story. You would have never thought probably in a million years this is what you'd be doing, but here you are and thriving at it. And that's what I love about entrepreneurs, is they never close their doors on anything.
No.
And it just creates great opportunities.
And I think what's been really interesting is doing what I do, speaking to so many different businesses, doing their marketing. I get to hear how they started and what are their struggles, if they're transparent. And those are the best conversations that I have, because I believe that learning from that and being honest, it is not easy a lot of the times, for whatever reason. And to just say, hey, I've been there, or I am there too. We can learn from one another and not have that pride in the way.
Everybody has a story. It's just getting that story out there.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which leads me to the question. You say marketing, and I've always had this conversation with other business owners. I would love to get your definition of what you think marketing is, because I think it encompasses so much.
Right? It is a very big umbrella. And you know what's funny is, with marketing, nestled under that are also other big umbrellas. You can say SEO, you can say digital marketing, and all of those encompass a lot of things as well. So, marketing can be a lot of things, but it is really honestly putting yourself out there with your message or offer. Now, the tools or vehicles that we use to do that can look a lot different from one another's business or season or purpose. So maybe it is your story, maybe it is how you connect, maybe it is your offering, maybe it's digital, maybe it's traditional media. But there are a lot of avenues, but it's really just putting yourself out there.
And of course, it varies by industry, right? I mean, like as a real estate agent, for me, trust is the big thing. So I need to tell my story, right?
But you market yourself and
in.
your properties.
Yes.
So they're two different things.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a huge umbrella. So tell us a little bit about transformation marketing. What is your vision, your goals? What do you see as that? I mean, where are you headed?
20 plus years into it, you sit there and go, oh, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? Well, in marketing, you got to really narrow that down because it changes so fast.
Survival through May.
Survival. That is my long-term plan, survival. No, it's honestly just to pivot and serve well in general. But marketing is evolving a lot, and we see that come back. And what I have learned, even just very recently with all of the tools or channels or opportunities that we have to use market, we really have to go back to the basics in the fact of what is the purpose? We got to slow down. We can get really quick into what's the production, what is the script, or what is the channel, but we need to really talk about what are we doing? Do we need to connect? What are we positioning our companies to do, our message to do? Is it to offer a service? And if so, what is that value statement? And I think sometimes that gets really lost, is doing that legwork first and that homework first before we roll out a strategy.
Yeah. Exactly. There's just so much involved. I remember as a business owner, the biggest challenge for me. So, of course, at 24 years old, I buy a business. Yeah. And I know all about this business at that point. I've been working it for like 5 or 6 years. Or I knew a lot about it. Yeah. I mean, I still don't know all about it. But what I didn't know a lot about was marketing. And so I was just throwing money. And then I'm like, wow, I'm throwing a lot of money. And like, how do I know if it's working? And, today it's like, oh, how many clicks did you get? Or how many whatever, But for me, at the end of the day, I'm like, well, it's about revenue is how I'm going to judge it. If I'm doing something for a year, if the revenue's not up, it doesn't work. But the other thing about that is to connect with someone such as yourself that understands the vast array of marketing things that you can do, and yet takes the time to say, tell me your story. Mm-hmm. Where are you headed? Why are you doing what you're doing? What's your passion? If people know and understand that, regardless of what you're selling or your service is, that's attractive. Right. Then if you ever do a radio ads and you get those little tag links, I'm probably going to get sued here. I don't know. But I think this is so funny. It's like I'm always walking around Hy-Vee stalls going, where are the helpful smiles in every aisle? I've been through 3 aisles. I still can't find the gravy I need.
I still sing the Menards jingle when I'm in there.
I know. So that's kind of an interesting marketing thing, right? I mean, if you think about it, like they got me forever. Yeah. Because it's great. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, so, I guess what I would say about that, Gary, is I had an interesting conversation just this week that someone had put this out there that they needed some marketing. And she goes, you need to know this gentleman, because when I spoke to him at the home show, he goes, in our industry, it's 14 months. What an oddity. It caught her off going, usually it's a year, or you got to try something for 6 months. And he goes, I know it's 14 months. Whatever that timeline is, you do have to give it some time. Yeah. But I thought that was just very keyed in.
I think that's the world we live in, though. We need immediate results.
Right.
And when you talk about marketing or promoting your business, telling a story, it takes time for that message to get out there and to really resonate to people to, be successful with it. So, you're right. I don't think you put a timeline on it. You just have to be patient.
Right. And what are we asking people to do? Change full behaviors? Or is it a quick offer? I mean, we got to be realistic about what we're doing.
What's your goal? Yeah, exactly. So we'll talk a little bit about that then. I'm sure there's some specialized industries that you work in. I know that I've worked with people who do marketing and advertising and sales that try to encompass everything, but it's good. The ones that I find more successful, the ones that really know my industry, they know my customers, and they're willing to learn even more about them. But are you guys specialized in anything, or do you encompass
Shannon? And welcome back. This segment today of the 402 Business Insider is sponsored by the Lincoln Airport and Home Design Real Estate Group. I know those people.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's me.
I hear good things about
I'm
him.
part of that. Anyway, Jim, you had a great question for Shannon right before we went to break. Just summarize that again super quick. It was like talking about knowing about your industry or
specializing or at least doing research about an industry before you delve into what their wants, what their needs are. I think so many people just say, hey, I want to sell you ads or I want to do your marketing, but they don't understand your business, your industry, your customers. But do you specialize in any certain groups or?
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing too, because over the last 20 plus years, I counted back maybe 7 years ago, we had marketed over 100 different products or businesses or industries, which is quite interesting, right? And so someone will say, oh gosh, that was such a misstep. You have to really niche. That's where success is. And I can see some value in that. And when I started reviewing that for myself, my niche is small business. I get it. I understand the mindset of a small business owner. And so with that, I'm like, is that enough? Is that enough niche? And I had to really reflect on that. And right now I am leaning into that small business because what has materialized, and we'll get to talking about that here too, is the need. The need is great and they need the time. So when I go in, when you say, I do research prior, some, not a lot, because I think sometimes we can let our assumptions lead us over the reality. So I usually like to go in and say, you know what, I know a little bit, but I'm really here to learn about your business, because if I make assumptions that you're like everyone else, then I miss the opportunity to find out what makes you unique. And that's what we market. So I like to really kind of go in and just ask a lot of questions. I probably should have been a journalist because I love asking questions, but just ask the questions. And then out of that, sometimes things surface for them that they didn't realize. It's like, that's the gold. That's what we market. And they're like, I didn't think about it. This is normal to me. So I, yes and no is the answer to that.
Sure. But like I said, don't come into my flower shop on February 13th wanting to talk to me about advertising, or I'm going to
that would just be total
a dozen
unawareness
roses someplace you don't want them. So I just said that live. I hope that's okay. So
it's just an announcement to all.
Yeah. So AI has gotten to be a great, big, huge thing, right? And everybody's, AI this, AI that. I see a lot of it in real estate now with people experimenting or whatever. Like, there's this one guy at work that, his houses are, his public remarks on the houses are usually like, 2 beds, 2 baths, 2-stall garage, and all of a sudden one day it was like, nestled in a quiet cul-de-sac in Southeast Lincoln is this warm, fuzzy, whatever. I walked into his office, I'm like, dude. Like, this is not, nobody's gonna know you're selling this house. I mean, so there's room for it or whatever, right? And there's a difference between automation and AI. Like, I automate a lot of stuff, but it's not AI.
Yeah, I think it will be very interesting. I mean, number one, with the use of AI, we have never used so many adjectives in all of our life. Like that has been a newfound English lead in.
More words than we need.
Right. So I'm glad you pointed out automations and AI are very different. Jim and I were just talking very briefly before we went on air, as his wife attended a breakout session of mine, and we talked to automations. And what came out of that, to me, learning all the time, is a lot of people find that AI and automations are the same thing, and they're not the same thing, right? So automations, let's just clear this up. This will be our learning moment Saturday morning.
Enlighten me, yes, please. I'm an old guy. I need all the help I can get in this area.
Automations are just creating processes assisted by technology to do routine things. This is magic, because those things, and it could even be a customer experience, or we're onboarding a new staff member, or our communications routine. Now we can create the experience routinely the way we want them to be, and that is such a gift, right? Things get done, and we don't have to do all the manual things that get forgotten when days get busy. So automations are super awesome. Automations can also be assisted with the technology of AI. We see this oftentimes right now in writing prompts, but we see it a lot in chatbots, right? And so that's been really kind of an interesting dip in the toe when we are toe in the water when we talk about marketing. This umbrella just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
Yeah, your job. Oh, my Lord.
It is just super crazy. So you have to be aware, but then also know where to utilize some of this technology. But these chatbots are quite interesting, too, because it helps with our customer service. It helps with client acquisition, the sales process, those sorts of things. But I have seen, to your point, is being honest about where we use AI. So a lot of times they're like, hey, because my chat bot is called Beanie Bot because I'm obsessed with our bean. But, being very, very forthcoming that, hey, I'm a bot. I'm going to help you until we get you to a human. But a lot of people are expecting that. But I think when we pretend that it's not AI, that's where we get a little, it becomes unrealistic, and then the trust factor goes down.
Right.
So
yeah, it depends on the business. Like I was saying in real estate, I'm seeing not locally yet in Lincoln. I don't know. Of course, I don't see everything, but we're seing avatars. Like people design your avatar and talk about real estate online. I'm like, nobody is going to buy real estate from my avatar.
Yeah,
it's I'm somewhat successful in spite of myself. I don't want to mess it up any further with an avatar. But at least with an avatar, you see it and you know what you're getting, right? And it's all of those hidden things. And sometimes we miss the simple things like automation. I had this huge mailing list after I closed the flower shop and went into real estate and just neglected it because I'm like, I told those people would never market to them. So finally I just said, hey, I'm not doing flowers anymore. I'm doing this. And like 2,000 some people still want my newsletter and in this past 8 months since I've automated, I've just skyrocketed in business. So, I mean, there are prices for both of those.
Yeah. Exactly.
In your mind, how should people trace if their marketing is working? And when I say that, before I do, I want to talk a little bit about a marketing bridge. I'll give you a good failure I had once where I advertised on a live radio show. This great product I had for the day, but didn't tell any of my staff. And then proceeded to go, I'm not going to go until 10 today. So ignore my phone. It's this pre-sell. Ignore my phone. I get in there and they're all like, what is this? And what are we doing? We've had like 20 calls. So it worked, except guess what? My staff didn't know about it. So I think sometimes you probably get a question like, I'm going to trace if my business works, if your marketing works for my business, right? But the truth is, it's got to be the whole bridge. Like, right? If we're not doing things on our end, that makes your life difficult.
Right. Yeah. So I think this comes back to where everything seems so fast paced. We have to slow down and think about what are we marketing? And what are we going to measure? So I love the digital space because we do have metrics. We can see how many people stream our spot or how long they watch our video or how many clicks or impressions we get. Now, if that is not materializing into sales, depending on what we're selling, then we need to go back. Is it the medium that we're using? Maybe not. Maybe it's the message or the offer. Because we're getting clicks, we're getting interest, right? Or if I look at something that is, I may never need this, maybe it is physical therapist, right? I don't need a physical therapist. I can't opt in to have that unless I have the need. But when I have the need, I want to think of this person first. So is it a branding? Is it an offer? Is it a buy now sort of thing?
Right.
That all makes sense. And we need to, a lot of times those things are missed in the planning on how long do we give it. And sometimes, like I said, if I need a particular attorney, I hope this is not a rumor spread, but I hope to never need a divorce attorney. Let's be serious, right?
Yeah.
But they do market,
Yeah.
And so having that out there all the time, they're just going to have a high marketing budget because they just need to be out there.
Yeah.
Right. So,
well, first off, Travis will never leave you. He can never marry up as high as he did again. So
it would be silly for him to do that. Yeah.
Well, I will make sure he hears this episode. That would be great.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. I think you have to know what you want your outcomes to be because most people go into marketing and they say, if I don't get sales, it's not working. But I find a lot of times in our business, I'll get people to come in and say, hey, I heard you on such and such. And I'm like, well, that's interesting because I never advertised on such and such, or I never did any marketing on such and such.
Yeah.
So it's
because
hard
we have so many messages coming into our world.
We do, and it's hard to measure outcomes. It really is, especially when you're in a customer service business. Yeah. But I guess my question then is, when you look at marketing, and I alluded to it earlier, all the different definitions in marketing, but you have to have a toolbox.
Yeah.
And I think so many businesses I see put all their eggs in one basket. I don't think that's a real smart way to do it. Maybe address that a little bit and how you figure out which different channels to use.
Yeah. So that used to be a very, very key thing, is own one medium and do it very well. You were probably in marketing at that point. Like if you picked one station, radio station, make sure you had a lot of frequency on that
Preferably
station.
KLAN.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, there we go.
So those things happen. You don't have to have one spot one time a week on all stations. That doesn't give you that frequency. I believe that still holds true, except that we are in what's called an omni-channel world. I don't know about you, but if I'm watching TV, I usually have something in my phone or my iPad or whatever in my lap. So there is an omni-channel approach to that. So we have to be smart, with our selections.
There was a horn of Gondor. Did you hear that? Anyway, we all checked our phones there. It was like, for those of you that like Lord of the Rings, this segment is sponsored by Integrated Behavioral Health Services and Transformation Group. I wonder what they do, Shannon. Oh, wait, that's you.
Just keep listening.
I love it. So before we went to break, we were kind of touching a little bit on AI. What's your general view on it? I mean, is it just a tool or is it going to be a big thing? Because there's so many people that are like, it's going to be this huge thing, and I'm like, I'm more interested in what I'm going to have for dinner. But
I think it already is a huge thing. I think it's really funny because it's not new. It's just new.
That's the other thing.
To the common folk.
Market.
If you will. So, and how we utilize it in our access to it. So the AI has been around, but it's utilized in bite-sized pieces or integrated into all of our tools. And so I think it's something we can't ignore. And, AI has its place. We can also talk about its pitfalls too. But thinking about today, AI and marketing, we can now do a lot of things more quickly. And when I talk about my passion as small business, it allows small business to have access to speed or tools or assistance that only really happened with big departments and big companies. So I get really excited about that. So talking about targeting our content or it aids in our automations, things that replicate the one-man show or the 5-person team with allowing us to scale and have capabilities without having to have a ton of salary revenue, outlaid. So,
a story I have to tell on, it's a little bit on AI, but so I had this house to sell that was owned by an artist that used to work for me. Anyway, so real talented artist. Her husband also is just very, very creative. And the house is filled with color. I mean, it is like every room is art in itself. And everybody's like, oh, at work, you're going to have so much trouble selling that. Like, there's nothing neutral. It's like a lot, whatever. And so my thought was, these people will not survive living there 2 more months if we gut their house and make it white and cream. It will suck her soul out of her body. I know that we can't do that. So I invested a lot in a video. The video was great. It was done well. The music was like, check this out. It was really cool. Brought people in. And then used AI a little bit to just say, how do I want to word this now in my marketing? And I thought to myself, they're millennials. Millennials love this. Millennials aren't necessarily really stuck in the white and gray and whatever walls. And it worked to a charm. It just gave me some great ideas. AI actually gave me the idea of a real cool video coupled with the right music. It just made and it sold the house in 3 days. Well, everybody's like, you'll be on the market for 3 months.
I have a friend that she specializes in digital staging too. She's an amazing photographer. Example. But again, it used to be, I remember when staging came in and it was very expensive to stage a home and to get it to sell. And then that comes off your bottom line. Now she can go in and digitally stage it and make something real to those that just can't envision it themselves. Now, Travis and I envision, we see an empty shell of a place, as Gary knows, and go, this is great. We can see the potential, but most people can't.
I'm outside with a towel over my face going, I'm not going in the basement. Good luck.
Well, those are success stories, but you mentioned it. Are there pitfalls to
There
AI?
are some pitfalls. So what we see here a lot of times is, I don't know, our trust factor is sometimes we're too trusting and sometimes not nearly trusting enough. So the validity or accuracy you can check what AI generates, right? It might not all be fact. And depending on the content that you're asking AI to serve up, you might need to do a little digging and make sure what is true if you're going to put your name behind it. We're seeing some violations in the privacy and copyright space. So being a little bit careful there. On the SEO side of things, on marketing, search engine optimization, if you have duplicated content, Google will ding you. So if you are putting something in AI, cutting and pasting it, and it came from another website, not only you might be infringing on some copyright, but you could have duplicate content. So let's, you might have to use multiple tools or someone in that space that could really check that validity and pitfalls there. And then we're seeing this a lot in using AI, and I'll speak like specifically in chatbots or web chat, is in the medical and the law fields, is that if you don't train the AI well enough to stay within your channels, you don't want to give advice. And that could get people in some hairy situations. So if you're going to use technology, know what you want it to do, dig the trenches really deep, those sorts of things.
Well, and once you get a result on AI, Chat GPT, or whatever it might be, don't just copy and paste mindlessly, read it. You can also ask it to word things differently. So for me, when AI came up with the description of this house, for example, I said, reword it in millennial. And it was amazing. Funny. Seemed a little bit... it was just enough, but it really made a great sense. I want to do my bio in Jim Carrey. I actually did it. It's hilarious. I'm like, I should play this on the radio. It'd just be fun. But anyway.
Why doesn't that surprise me? That's just amazing. Yes.
Perfect. Do you know what's on my list to do? This was in one of the many things I listened to, was to use chat as your toughest critic or challenger.
Ooh,
so then it would help you kind of spar that potential objection in the sales process. And I thought, that's very brilliant, is using it to better, hone us in better. Yeah.
Staying on the same topic, let's look at bottom line. What is the investment in money or time into AI, and will it pay dividends? Do you need to, looking at P&Ls and all that good stuff, does it pay dividends? What savings is it?
Yeah. So that's kind of goes back to ROI on marketing. Is AI can save you a ton of time. Time is money. So how you want to equate that could be a personal preference. But I do believe that you aren't going to see it as a line item. You're going to see it as capability plus, time saving a plus, access, and it's being built in a lot of our own tools already. So usually it's not even an added cost in a lot of cases, or we can use some free resources to just even get some things going. So I don't see a lot of downside to cost-wise, because it's just becoming so available.
My concerns with AR is AI. Number one, I hope there is a master switch somewhere with somebody really cool like the three of us that knows when to shut it off if it goes wonky sometime and comes at us. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when you're using AI, I think it's really, personally, I feel like it's really important to make sure it's still you. If it's writing for you, if you are doing an avatar, it can get really fun. But when suddenly I've known somebody for 30 years, 40 years, and all of a sudden they're posting something and you're like, wow, this is really just so not you. Yeah. I applaud the effort. It's all new and we're all trying things. But I think that's important too.
I think that's just it. Whether we need to step back and go purpose or process, or at the root of it all, there needs to be some authenticity.
Right.
So
exactly.
Whether that may be that, hey, you're speaking to my chatbot, but my sole purpose here is to book a meeting with Shannon. Right? So you're going to get to Shannon at some point, but I have a process that allows you to do it at 6 p.m. at night when maybe I'm not in the office, or maybe I still am, whatever it may be. But having a little bit of that authenticity of, I'm using AI here, but you're going to see Shannon, or we're going to train to sound like Shannon, whatever it may be. But we're really going to be looking as a society to authenticity. And I think that's going to really be a lot of this podcasts, I can hear her voice. I can see her in YouTube because we're going to want that authentic, knowing that that's a real person.
Well, yeah, and we were just talking about that off air about relationships. Everything we do is about relationships, and that's probably my biggest fear is that we're going to lose some of that. And maybe I'm off base there. And again, I'm enjoying this conversation because I have no idea about some of this stuff. It is so new to me, and so it's like Star Trek-ish out there, AI and creating things. But it's all about people and relationships, and you'd hate to lose some of that because this makes things so much easier.
I'm going to comment on that real quick. Sorry to interrupt you, but I listened to a futurist recently, about 2 years ago, talking about just the future in general and in the world and what's happening. And one of the topics that he talked about is, we have big changes in world history, right? So the Industrial Revolution that we would be familiar with, the two of them, really changed the world, right? He says the next big change is going to be all relational, where we now have children, my children, for example, who, are 43, 30 and 26, grew up with a whole lot of technology. Maybe not Josh as much as my two younger daughters, but they grew up with a ton of technology. Things where I would say to them, who are you talking to? Oh, my new friend. Who's that? Da, 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 da. Oh, where did you meet her? Well, we're Facebook friends, but they're friends. And there's a growth of needing to come back to that relationship. I've mentioned this before on the radio, but my mentors that I have at the real estate company, I'll tell, they'll be like, oh, what's the best real estate book we should read? And I'm like, Personalities Plus by Florence Littauer. And they're like, well, I mean, for real estate, Personalities Plus, like learn how to communicate and talk to people and where they come from. So it's important.
Yeah. I think that, and it comes back to where is it appropriate to use for what you're doing?
Bingo.
You know what I mean?
Very much so.
If it's efficiencies in booking appointments, great. But they're still going, that relationship is so important. And I guess I find comfort in that because we can really get feeling a little threatened about being replaced. Yeah. And I don't think we need to, especially as we get older. We have skill sets that are going to be needed.
Welcome back to the 402 Business Insider on this beautiful Saturday morning here in Lincoln, Nebraska. This segment is sponsored by Complete Family Dermatology and Western National Bank. Joining me today as a co-host, Jim from James Arthur Vineyards.
This has been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. Thank you.
It's been great having you. And our guest is the infamous Shannon Filing from Transformation Marketing.
That's how
she
rumors
knows
start.
Marketing. No, you know marketing. That's not a rumor. Infamous? We could do a lot with that.
Yeah.
So what we were just talking about, we wanted to come back to. A little bit about AI. We've been chatting about AI. I have a question for you. Why should someone outsource their marketing?
Oh, there's so many reasons.
Right.
Number one, time, right? As I told you, I really love small business. We tend to, as small businesses, go, I have to learn and do all things well. Stop that right now.
Correct.
Right?
I did that. That almost ruined me at first.
It's hard not to do that, but you're right.
It is. It's very hard,
very
right?
difficult.
But
yes.
When you outsource, you have access to expertise that you don't have because we're in our business. So I talked to, 100 and some businesses. There's value in there that I can bring to the table. Oftentimes you have access to tools, creativity. We're more creative than with others than just with ourselves. So lots of opportunity to outsource and just trust the professionals to help you and be collaborative with it. It is your business, but we bring things to the table.
Okay, here's a fun one I have not heard of before, so I love sharing my ignorance. So let's put a spotlight on SAM. SAM's not a human,
yes,
but that stands for Smart Automated Marketing. What?
Yes. Yeah. So having that process or that software to automate things, put everything in one place so the technology communicates effectively. So SAM is our software that we can equip with CRM, your web chat, your email marketing, a universal inbox so we don't lose our mind when we have, did they hit me up on Facebook Messenger or email or text?
Right.
It all comes in one place. So it is very robust that can be used in pieces or collectively. But I just found that we were spending way too much time with fragmented technology that needed to be rectified. So
yeah, definitely. And the marketing bridge, we talked about that a little bit, but it is so important, right? So as a business owner of a small business, it's easy. It was easy for me anyway to forget that, man, I need to share this with everybody, right? Because we're all in the boat together. Everybody needs to know what's going on. So I think just if I would have outsourced earlier, it would have been so much better.
Yep.
I really missed
absolutely.
that. Definitely.
And I know we're up to get to break, but real quickly, what what do you enjoy the most? I mean, what really, you get done with the day and you go, this was so cool. I mean, what is it that really drives you?
I like having conversations that are real with people that are passionate about their business, their industry, and know their value. So I love that, and I get to do that every day.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to... I just want to match that voice. You're listening to the 402 Business Insider. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And this segment is sponsored by James Arthur Vineyards. And we've got the man with us today. Jim, what's going on in the vineyard this month real quick?
Lots. We're just gearing up for nice weather. It'd be nice if we could figure out if it's going to be 30 degrees or 80 degrees. But and that blizzard took its toll on us, so we're still recovering from that a little bit. But when you're without power for 6 days, that kind of hurts business a little bit. But no, everything's going great. Just gearing up for great events. Good schedule.
Well, our guest today is Shannon. It's Travis Shannon Filing. Great, not Miller.
And it's not Filing either.
Filing, do you get that? Shannon Filing from Transfer Slim Marketing thing. Anyway, this is your little segment. It's a short one, but just tell us, how do we find you?
Yeah, you have to work really hard not to find me because I am on all the socials. But a good center point is tmresults.com. That's the shortest URL I own. So tmresults.com. And that will get you linked to all my socials as well. One of the things that I will say is through all the conversations, there's 3 distinct areas that Transformation Group does really well in. Number 1, marketing. Over 20 years, we can help you seek that expert advice. Second is administrative outsourcing. We need more people to do all the things. You can outsource to my team. And third is efficiencies, and we use SAM software to do that. So those are the 3 distinct areas that we serve small businesses.
And your corporate office is in Palmyra, right?
No.
Where is it?
Panama.
Panama. I always say Palmyra.
You
those
will not
two
get
places
to us.
mess me up big
Panama.
time. But we're close if we're in Palmyra, right? We're
About 8 miles apart, but whatever.
But you come to anybody in Lincoln, right? I mean,
yeah, actually, you'll see me at many a coffee house. We have a lovely office space if you want to take a rural 15-minute drive. But yeah, we are in Panama.
Great. And then, Shannon, you do public speaking, correct?
I do.
So if I'm having an event or something, you could be hired to come and speak? Because you're great to listen to. I always learn something.
Yes, I do public speaking, and I do workshops, typically on business principles and leadership.